Ready, down!
What's up, everybody? Back again. Another contest video. Are you shocked? Another damn milestone. There's so many of these. This is for 2,000 subscribers, and this is not a small thing to sneeze at. 2,000 subscribers is very hard to get to, and being a content creator myself, I'm very well aware. So, Dennis, as we call him, Captain OG at Analog Archives, has reached that milestone. And I remember, dude, like back in, I want to say maybe 2021, I was already kind of mentioning how he was around 500 subscribers at the time, and go, man, this guy deserves a lot more subs. What the hell's up with YouTube, man? So, and he's finally reached that 500, over that 500 hump, well over. And I know he got to 1,000, and then I remember that was a big milestone. Now he's at 2,000. And so congratulations, man. Seriously. So very good channel. Dennis knows his shit. And we don't call him the Captain OG for no reason, man. The guy has a lot of original pressings. He's a horror nut. A lot of horror related things. He's got an impressive VHS collection. And just ask him anything, man. He's probably got it. Seriously. The guy's got like a warehouse for a room. So congratulations, Dennis, man. Your channel's awesome. Sometimes he has his son on board, and they talk about a lot of good, really cool stuff. So all around guy, man. So also to celebrate, and all those late nights, he's hopped on our live streams. The Saturday Slate crew get together, and sometimes he'll hop in when he can, or he'll hop in some other live streams and do a series with like Jeff over at Gas Mask and Hand Grenades, and this and that. So guy's very cool, open, flexible, and always looking. The impression that I got was that this guy is always willing. He has a bit of a humble nature, but also at the same time, he's willing to teach and just let you know. If you want to know, he's more than open to just let you know how things are, man. He's a good storyteller. That's one thing I really love about his channel. He's just talking about the good old days. These kids get around, just gather around the digital campfire and just listen to what he has to say. That's the cool thing about some of these older guys, who were there at the time. So Dennis, I got the Elysian Night Owl Pumpkin Ale. Night Owl, as we all are, man. So some of you guys know, man, we've done some marathons. We've done some real marathons on the channel. And just talked about probably just bullshit until like 5 in the morning. Literally, we'll be on these live streams until like sunrise. And it's time to go to bed. And sometimes I gotta be at work the next day. Or some crap like that. So very cool. So glad you got to 2,000 subscribers, man. So what are we doing, man? So what does this contest entail? What is it about? So he wants us to show, I think it was 10, right? 10 albums, but not just any albums, sophomore albums. So I guess there's this idea that there is something called the sophomore slump, right? You kind of blow your whole wad on the first release, on the first your debut album. That's a lot of that's a phenomenon, not just in metal, just kind of in music in general. You get that record deal, you got these songs lined up, you've been gigging for years, and bam, you're ready to do this. And then comes the sophomore album. You're like, oh shit, we gotta do this again, and in a much smaller time frame, right? It is fall. It's pumpkin season, so I usually partake in this kind of thing. So sophomore, meaning second album, follow-up, the one after the debut album. See, you all should know this. Thought I'd give you a little definition. Yeah, you probably want to punch me by now. But you can't, because I'm over here and you're over there. How are you going to pull that off, genius? All right, enough messing around. So, 10 albums to show to Dennis. So here are my polls. And yeah. Oh, by the way, so I've seen some of the entries in this, and some people have included EPs, and that's cool if you want to go that direction. Include the EPs as a debut. I know a lot of bands have done that. It's a very common thing. Sometimes bands will go right from a demo right to a, they get signed and got their first full length thing happening. So I'm just go kind of ease in and go from a debut and forward. Just full lengths from here, man. I'm just doing full lengths. So I'm not counting the EPs. Some people have included it. So just because I just don't want to hear you guys in the comments, but dude, that's not really the first release, man. It was the EP. I know, but that's not my criteria for this one. Dennis didn't outline specifically that particular kind of thing. So this is my contest entry, and this is the criteria that I outlined for this particular thing. There you go. I'm just in a funny mood. It's Sunday. It's rainy. I'm a little cranky, but I'm also happy because our community is growing. People are getting 2,000 subs. Soylent Green, one of my favorite grindcore albums, probably of all time, man. I just came in right in the right time of my life, man. Back when this dropped, I was very intrigued by the artwork. I was not familiar with Soylent Green yet. Their debut, Pussy Soul, was a very kind of it didn't stand out very much in a way that was very much to write home about. It was a very good album, but it didn't offer a whole lot of different kind of jarring tricks until you've heard something like this and you were like, oh, okay, these guys, okay, I see what's going on here. So as much as I love Pussy Soul, they really stepped up their game on this one here. So this is Soul Mouth Secrets, and again, the artwork really drew me in. Really good stuff. New Orleans, you guys know New Orleans, man. You know that sound, a sludgy sound. So you can hear a little bit of that sludgy element going on here, but also very jarring. So why do I like this so much? There's just so much of this sort of they really stepped up the bluesy element on this. Donovan Punch and these guys, like the way they riffed, the aggression and the attitude was there. This sounds mean as fuck, man. So yeah, Soul Mouth Secrets, 1998, put out by Relapse. This is one that desperately needs to be reissued, and I hope they do. So right now you're kind of just stuck with the OG if you're lucky enough to have a copy or a CD. So CD is much easier to come by, but came with a bonus 7-inch also. So good stuff. Again, very jarring, but that's what you want out of your grindcore. You want the crazy tempo changes. You want the really nasty vocals, and kind of he has the really high screechy thing going on, but also the very low guttural thing. You know what I mean? Imagine like Chris Barnes era Corpse, right? But in a grindcore kind of fashion, you get a little bit of that here. So Ben Falkhouse, man, love this performance on this. So yeah, great, excellent stepping up. So I got something that are kind of just as good as the debut, which is one of Dennis's criteria. So better than the debut, or just as good as. So this is definitely a step up from the first album, a true classic. Moving away from something completely different, but still based in the U.S. We can't forget about Agalloch. So we got The Mantle, follows up Pill Folklore, and this is a staple of U.S. It's easy to just kind of look them as black metal, but this is much more than that. I mean, this is some shit of substance, man. Like this has, God, this is really more of a folk album. It's got some post rock, post black metal elements thrown in there. There's definitely some dark moments, but also some very beautiful moments. This is a very beautiful album. This is a band that plays really interesting, ethereal, atmospheric melodies that really draws you in. This is a great time of year as we're leaning into fall. To put on something like this, it really captivates you. It really gets you kind of just thinking, So between this and the debut, even the one after this, they're all great. They're all just great. I can't put this above or below any other ones. I would say go with any of the Agalochs, and you're good to go. But The Mantle is one it's an American classic with this kind of thing. So nice, great, folky, atmospheric, post-black metal that should be in your collection. So if you're looking to break into this kind of style, it's not normally your thing. You need to have patience. The Agalloch albums do average about an hour, so it's an experience. This is one of those albums that truly is an experience. Listen, I wouldn't say only listen to this track or just that track. You got to sit there and just digest the whole thing, man. As it should. So great release. Next up, we have All right, Sanctuary. So, Into the Mirror Black. World Dane, uh, rest in peace. This follows up their debut, and I feel like this particular album, some people would say the first album is probably their preferred album. I don't have any preference over the first or this one. I think that being that the debut had a lot of Dave Mustaine's involvement, being that he's the one that kind of helped propel the band and really get them their get them the recognition they deserve. I feel like here you have the absence of Dave Mustaine's influence and in producing kind of I guess what you call it, experience. That here you have the band on their own, not really on their own completely, but they do have some help. But here they I think here's from here on out is really where they really find their sound and their style. Moving up into the 90s. This came out in 1990. But Into the Mirror Black, this is another really good emotional listen. It's not as a thrashy as the first album, but another good American classic. Definitely check them out if you have not yet. But most of you probably have this and know this, so not gonna waste more words on this. Great album. All right, next up, let's move to Sweden. Unanimated. Ancient God of Evil. So yeah, this following up the debut was it In the Forest of the Dreaming Dead. This came along with a whole bunch of copper bands that kind of been playing this particular what you call this sort of thrashy black metal. It's got a lot of melodic takes on this. Being from Sweden, that's no surprise. I find this one to be a little more evil than the first album. It's a little more darker than the first album. I mean, don't get me wrong, the first one was pretty dark too. But I tend to spin this one a little more just because it's got more bite to it for me. The first one it's a more melodic experience, although this one has a lot of those melodic moments too. But I think this one, it's just overall of a darker album. But great band. I mean, you're talking about bands like this coming out at a time when Dissection was releasing their stuff, Dawn. It's just another one that I don't think this band's talked about nearly enough among the heap of those other bands. But they're still putting out music today, so it's all quality to me, man. Great band. So Unanimated out of Sweden. So again, it just depends what you're looking for. I do spin this one more than the debut, but I love them both just the same. So I'm fine with just about any of the unanimated albums. What else we got? Hooded Menace. Never Crossed the Dead. So this one right here, this is one of the Dementia Records releases. I mean, just looking at that cover already kind of pulls you in. You know you're in for something really good. Something with a cover like this can't be shitty at all, right? So coming from Finland, some Death Doom, and this is a band. I guess you could call this a modern Death Doom band, even though they started out in the mid 2000s. And man, this is a band that just ticks all the boxes for me of what I love about Death Doom music. It's got the melody, it's got the darkness, it's got the punch, it's got the production, it's got everything that I love about this. So what a ride. I feel like this is another one that I think stepped it up from the debut. I love the debut, but this one here, something about it just pulls me in. It's just a little more mature. They learned a few things from the first album, but I think this one here, I think if I were to pick a top 3 Hooded Menace album, this would be probably up there. God, because the Tony's Bell, it's grown on me a lot since it came out, and that's their latest one, and that one probably up there among my favorites. Probably because Andy LaRocque's involved with it, but this is probably 2 or 3, and the one before Tritoni's Bell. So I don't know. Like I think this is among one of my favorites. But yeah, great band. What else we got? Oh yeah, Chicago, Illinois. When it comes to coming out of Hooded Menace, if we're talking about Death Doom, this is a band that's more oriented on death metal with doom elements. and I think among the best to come from that scene. We'll talk about Cyanide. So a Descent into Hell, and yeah. So this right here, geez. So even though the band Gates of Slumber, first track right here, Gates of Slumber, that's where they got their name, FYI. So yeah, what is it? The Undying Truth, their debut, sounded a little bit rough around the edges when you consider the production on it, and they learned a few things too, as far as what they wanted to improve on with their sound, and you can hear it on this release right here. So as far as the production, it's definitely they up the ante on it, and you hear it right here. It's not as demo sounding as the first album was. But if you like the rawness of the first album, it's probably why you might gravitate more towards that one, if that's more your taste. But either way, this band is dark and just slimy, and just everything about this just great. And again, I love the doomy elements that this band brings. So Cyanide, just awesome. It's just a true classic, 1994. Wow, it's that old already. All right, we also got. So I'm showing all the vinyl first, then I'll pull the CDs. So this is a band that I think it's underappreciated, not talked about enough. And I'm actually doing a giveaway contest as we're recording this, running into November, and I'm actually giving away one of the CDs of Loud Blast. And that was the album that came before this one. It's Sensorial Treatment. So this is Disincarnate, not to be mistaken for the band Disincarnate, which is a one and done thing. Loud Blast, coming from France, they're one of the very first death metal French bands ever. And this right here, I gotta tell you, so this is a Scott Burns thing. Interesting timing, because there's a Scott Burns book that that just came out, put out by Decibel. So he's been on my mind a lot lately. So lately, this is why I decided to pull this. Put out by reissued by Listenable Records, right here. And I think this is probably the most evil thing they've put out. This is the darkest, most punchiest album Loud Blast has put out. Sublime Dementia is pretty good. That follows this. It's a little more proggy than this. But this right here, this is plain dark. This is just an assault on your senses. Great album. More Sound Studios. And this dropped July 1st, 1991. That sound familiar? Yes, because that was at the same time that Massacre from Beyond also dropped, the same exact day. So Cam Lee actually makes an appearance. He makes an appearance on the song The Horror Within. He does some guest vocals on this, which is not surprising, considering they were probably both in the same studio while they were recording their albums, respectively, probably in separate rooms while this was going on. I mean, imagine like you know that Run DMC Aerosmith video when they're like in separate rooms and they're trying to do their thing and they're just kind of overcrowding each other's noise. It's probably what was going on with this. These guys are in one room and Massacre are in the other room, and they're kind of doing the walk this way thing, and then there's a clash, and Cam's like, fuck it, I'll just do a vocal session with you, all right? We just gotta call and choose here, all right? Scott Burns in the middle of all this. I'll stop rambling. All right. Next up, we have another band that I don't think is nearly talked about enough. You all talk about your Carcass, you all talk about Napalm Death, and then but out of Germany, we've had Blood, right? Christ Bait, second full length, had a whole stream of demos in the beginning, but this right here, in my mind, is essential. Great band, still putting out. It's been a while since they released something, but they're still active. This is 1992, I believe, is when this dropped. And Impulse to Destroy, that came before this. I think this is an improvement. Impulse to Destroy is grindy, dark, but the production is very, very rough around the edges. And I think that here it's a little more accessible, a little more digestible for people looking to get into this genre. And I think this is a good place to start. If you're trying to get more into Blood and want to know where to begin, you could start with Impulse to Destroy, but the production might put you off. But I would say you can't go wrong with Christ Bait. Excellent release. And then next up, we have a band that I thought for a long time was European. I remember back in the day, I used to download these MP3s, and I was getting to My Dying Bride, and I was getting into, God, Paradise Lost, you know, and all that stuff, right? And I was really getting into the moody bands, and you know, I had my wave of Cannibal Corpse and all those other influences coming in into my music collection, but I was also maturing into other things and looking to expand. And when Morgion hit the scene out of Orange County, California, right, out of all places, so Solinari follows up what is it, Among Majestic Ruins, and Among Majestic Ruins was more, it was definitely more death doom of an album. Here they incorporated a lot more atmosphere. There's a lot more nuances happening with their songwriting. So definitely changed direction there. So depending what you're looking for, I don't consider this better than the first. I kind of look at them as more of a what you call it, just different substance in the songwriting. So depending, again, you want the darker, heavier, more doomy kind of album, go for the debut. If you want something a little more atmospheric, a little more, this is more like My Dying Bride kind of meets Tiamat, you know, more that gothic era kind of Tiamat, the mid '90s. It kind of has that vibe. I mean, there's a little. I mean, your influences of Paradise Lost. You can tell these guys are listening to that Peaceville 3 stuff, you know, along with Catatonia at the time, and it definitely shows up in their songwriting. So yeah, so Relapse was involved with this one. So this one should actually still not be difficult to find at all. I actually have another CD set that includes both first albums in one collection. But so if you want to get into this band, that might be the way to go. And last but not least, we got Therion. So Beyond Sanctorum. Yeah. So this is another one of those, you know, outer sleeves with the same cover as as the Jewel. I don't know why they do this. And yeah. So following up Into Darkness. Into Darkness is another one that's very raw and primitive and just in your face, and it's just brutal in its way. Probably maybe not apart from the demos, but it's probably the most brutal release. And the band quickly. So again, another Swedish outfit. They sound nothing like this today, as a lot of you may know. But man, something about this album. I got into this album pretty late. You know, I jumped in around God, late I think early 2000s, late 90s when I jumped into this band, and I thought that's pretty much how they sounded the whole time. They were symphonic and this and that, and then later I discovered Into Darkness. I go, wow, this is pretty good, but it sounds nothing like their recent stuff. And then I listened to this, and I'm like, it still has elements of the first album. It's still quite brutal, and it's still quite dark, but there's an element of the songwriting. So to me, this is actually, I like this a little better than the first one. Some of you may not agree, but I think here it is very much a transition album, and you can hear they're starting to incorporate this female vocals. There's more atmosphere. There's more experimentation going on with the riffing and the songwriting, but it's still very much a death metal album. You know, in comparison to how they will evolve later on and add more gothic elements, more experimental, more symphonic things, and so Therion's one of those bands that tends to separate people depending on where you jump in with them. But Beyond Sanctorum, I think it's an excellent. It's probably itching closer and closer to being my favorite one. I haven't quite decided exactly yet, but in comparison to Into Darkness, I kind of prefer this one, just because it just to me just has more going on and more stuff that I appreciate about it. I just love the songwriting in general. So yeah, so that should be 10. So yeah, congratulations, Dennis, and everybody who's has sub to him. He definitely deserves it. Deserves more subscribers. Looking forward to more Night Owl live streams with you, shooting the shit, or whatever, and talk more horror. You know, good shit. So yeah, I'll leave you all with that, and I hope that uh, these picks were good enough for you, Dennis. So keep it dreadful, and catch you all later.